Caitlin Clark, just broke off her partnership with Nike. The same Caitlin who basically resurrected the WNBA's visibility from the dead this past year. The rookie who turned sold-out arenas into her personal playgrounds. The face of a movement that finally made women's basketball impossible to ignore. And now she's done with Nike? Cue the record scratch. Cue the headlines. Cue the chaos. Because this isn't just about a contract. This is about power, about narrative control, about a generational star looking around and saying, wait a minute, why am I doing all the heavy lifting while someone else cashes in?
If you're here for the real story and not the filtered version, subscribe. And if you're sticking around for the next meltdown, you better definitely subscribe.
Let's just rip the bandage off. Nike bet against Caitlin Clark. And it might be the worst gamble they've made since ever. They didn't drop her per SC. That would have been too loud, too obvious. Instead, they pulled a classic corporate move. They sidelined her without saying it out loud. No signature shoe announcement. No massive marketing push. No billboard reveals. Just a quiet pivot towards someone else. Rookie sensation Juju Watkins. Now let's pause. This isn't about tearing down Juju. She's talented. Ridiculously so. She's going to be great. But she's also new. She hasn't even played a professional game. And yet, Nike handed her a reported $30+ million deal. And all the attention that should have gone to Caitlin Clark. Make that make sense. Clark is the most watched, most followed, most Googled women's basketball player in years. She's already broken attendance records, pulled in TV ratings that outpace the NBA, and turned casual fans into diehards. She is the moment. She is the future. And Nike? They looked at all that and said, meh, let's wait. Big mistake. Because Caitlin saw it too. The lack of rollout. The quiet treatment. The sudden spotlight shift towards someone who hadn't even laced up on a WNBA floor. And after months of carrying an entire sport on her back, she chose violence in the form of walking away. She took her name, her brand, and her power, and she bounced. And let's be clear, that is a historic move. Athletes don't break up with Nike. Nike breaks up with you. That's always been the unspoken rule. But Caitlin? She rewrote the rules. Because she doesn't need Nike. She's the brand now. This isn't just one player and one company. This is a culture shift. It's what happens when a new generation of athletes realizes they don't have to wait for gatekeepers to tell them they're valuable. It's what happens when talent meets leverage. When someone like Caitlin Clark says, you're either all in or you're out. And if you're out, so am I. And here's where it gets even messy, eh? The WNBA is shook. They've hitched so much of their current momentum to Clark's rise. Billboards, highlights, media blitzes, merch. And now their biggest star just publicly cut ties with their biggest sponsor. That's not just awkward. That's a full-on brand crisis. What happens when your league's most bankable star decides your sponsor doesn't see her worth? What happens when fans start to notice that the numbers don't lie, but the sponsorship deals don't add up? You think people didn't clock the fact that Caitlin didn't get the full Nike rollout, the way Sabrina Ionescu did? Or that a player with more clout than half the NBA combined was being treated like a background extra while a rookie got a red carpet? People noticed. They noticed everything. And now Nike's trying to spin it, saying it's about diversity of representation, about giving other athletes a chance, about looking toward the future. But here's the thing. Caitlin Clark is the future, and also the present. And if we're being honest, the main reason most of the world even knows the WNBA had a season this year. Nike didn't make a calculated decision. They made a jealous one. Clark's success didn't come from flashy agencies or industry politics. It came from results, from showing up, from dropping 40 points in front of record-breaking crowds and smiling through every absurd foul that never got called. She earned everything, and yet she still got treated like she needed to wait her turn. That's not strategy. That's spite. And fans? They saw the pettiness. They saw the politics. They saw a woman who worked harder than anyone rise above it all and get dismissed anyway. So now the question is, who's going to pick her up? Because you better believe the vultures are circling. Adidas? Puma? Under Armour? They're all drooling. There's a once-in-a-generation brand opportunity up for grabs. and Nike just let it walk away. Imagine what a Clark signature shoe could do. Imagine a full-scale campaign built around her story. The Iowa roots, the college dominance, the WNBA pressure, the viral moments. She's the dream. And Nike fumbled her like a loose ball in Game 5. It's almost poetic. Nike, a brand built on the backs of generational talent, just underestimated the most generational player of all. And now it's open season. The real twist? Clark doesn't even need a signature shoe to win. Her entire existence is branding gold. Whatever company signs her next, they're not just getting an athlete. They're getting an era, a movement, the Clark effect. And don't think for a second she's sweating this. Because this is power. The kind of power very few athletes, male or female, ever get. The power to say no. The power to walk away. The power to choose. Nike forgot who they were dealing with. They treated Caitlin like a product. But she's not a product. She's the producer. And this whole saga, this is a warning shot. To Nike. To the WNBA. To anyone who still thinks women's sports are just a side hustle to the real thing. Caitlin Clark isn't a fluke. She's not a flash in the pan. She's not a social media trend waiting to fizzle out. She's the future of sports marketing. She's the case study in what happens when you underestimate a woman who's already winning. So here's the question. Where does she go next? Because wherever she lands, whoever backs her next is about to change the game. And Nike? They'll be watching from the sidelines, wishing they believed in her just a little sooner. So what do you think? Did Nike make a huge mistake letting Caitlin Clark walk away? Who should sign her next? And are we finally seeing the beginning of real power shifts in women's sports? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Blow it up. Let's talk about the future and who's actually ready for it. And if you want more unfiltered deep dives into the drama, the deals, and the downright delusional decisions that shape sports and celebrity culture, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Because this isn't just a sports story. It's a power story. And Caitlin Clark, she just took all of it back. Caitlin Clark, arguably the most important athlete to walk into women's basketball in the last decade, just pulled off what few have the guts or the clout to do. She said no to Nike. That's not just a power move. That's a detonation. Because in the world of sports, Nike doesn't get rejected. Nike is the top of the mountain, the dream sponsor, the final boss of endorsement deals. Athletes don't break up with Nike. Nike chooses you, and you're supposed to bow in gratitude like you just got knighted. But Caitlin Clark? She flipped the script. She didn't just walk away. She walked away loudly, knowing full well what it would do to the industry. And let's be honest, she was right to do it. Because what we've witnessed over the past year is a textbook case of manufacturer priorities, of a billion-dollar brand choosing to bet on who they think they can control, not who's already winning the culture war. Let's rewind for a second. Caitlin Clark didn't just enter the WNBA. She exploded into it. Like a meteor crashing through a window, she sold out arenas in cities that hadn't cracked 5,000 in attendance in years. She boosted TV ratings to numbers the league hadn't dared to dream of. And she didn't do it with marketing help. She didn't have a reality show or some elaborate sneaker drop fueling her rise. She did it with game, with jaw-dropping threes, buzzer beaters, and a style that made even non-basketball fans say, wait, who's that? She's not just a good player. She's an era. So why didn't Nike see that? Why didn't they move heaven and earth to launch the Caitlin Clark era under their banner? Easy politics. Not real politics, but brand politics. Agenda politics. The kind that happens behind conference room doors, where agencies, image consultants, and billion-dollar execs play chess with athletes' careers. And somehow, Caitlin Clark, the most obvious choice for a marketing blitz in recent history, ended up sidelined in her own success story. Instead, Nike threw its full weight behind Juju Watkins, a player backed by a very specific agency with a very powerful Rolodex, Clutch Sports. Now let's get something straight. Juju is a baller. No one's denying that. She's electric. She's dynamic. She has the makings of a future star. But she's also still unproven at the professional level. She hasn't taken a single WNBA game-winning shot. She hasn't faced the relentless media circus. She hasn't sold out multiple arenas night after night. Caitlyn has. Caitlyn did. Caitlyn is still doing it. And yet, Nike looked at all of that and said, let's go with the rookie. You don't need a marketing degree to see the problem here. This wasn't about talent. It wasn't about marketability. It was about control, about who fits the mold, about which agencies have leverage, about image. Caitlyn Clark is not controllable in the traditional sense. She doesn't do what she's told just because a brand wants her to. She's not here to be the quiet, smiling face on a sneaker poster. She's here to win. And if she doesn't like how a deal feels, she'll bounce. That's what Nike underestimated. That's what they always underestimate with women. They thought she needed them. But the truth is, they needed her. And now, they're scrambling. Because Caitlyn's exit didn't just rattle Nike. It sent shockwaves through the entire WNBA ecosystem. Sponsorships, PR teams, even the league office. Everyone is whispering, panicking, updating spreadsheets. Because they all know what this means. The balance of power just shifted. When a player can walk away from the biggest brand in sports and still keep all her fans, all her influence, and all her momentum, that's not just power. That's independence. And brands? They're watching. Hard. Adidas is licking their lips. Puma is probably sending flower arrangements. Under Armour is drafting mock-ups for Clark 1 signature shoes as we speak. And every one of those brands is thinking the same thing. Nike fumbled. Let's not. This is the kind of opportunity that rebrands entire companies. Signing Caitlyn Clark now isn't just about attaching your name to a star. It's about telling the world you believe in women's sports in a real, tangible, unapologetic way. Nike had the chance to be that brand, to lead. Instead, they chose the path of corporate caution, and Caitlyn Clark torched it. Let's not pretend this kind of decision was made in a vacuum either. Nike has had issues with women athletes before. We've seen them lowball women's sponsorships, lag behind in maternity protections, and quietly phase out stars when they no longer serve the vibe. But Caitlyn's exit? This one cuts deep. Because Caitlyn didn't just say no thanks quietly. She let it be known. This was a breakup with purpose, with precision. And now that it's public, fans are rallying behind her harder than ever. People aren't just asking who will sign her next. They're waiting. There's a literal anticipation economy forming around what her next move will be. And that's rare. Most athletes will be terrified to walk away from a brand like Nike. They'd be scared of losing relevance, of being shut out. But Caitlyn? She's not scared, because she knows what she brings to the table. She built the damn table. And the WNBA? They'd better pay attention too, because this is about more than just one deal. This is about what kind of league they want to be. Do they want to be a place where politics and power brokers determine which players succeed off the court? Or do they want to build a league where performance, passion, and authenticity are rewarded? Where stars are elevated because of what they do, not who they know. If they're smart, they'll back Caitlyn. Publicly, visibly, aggressively. Because she's already done more for the league in 12 months than most players have done in a decade. And they need her far more than she needs them. Same goes for Nike. They had a chance to ride the wave. Instead, they built a dam. And now the wave is crashing without them. And to everyone asking, isn't this just a shoe deal? Why does it matter? It matters because this is how power shifts in sports. This is how stars are made. This is how cultures are changed. Sponsorships are not just about money. They're about visibility, legitimacy, influence. Who gets signed tells you who matters. Who gets ignored tells you who the industry thinks they can afford to lose. Nike thought they could afford to lose Caitlyn Clark. They were wrong. Caitlyn Clark wasn't just Nike's best shot at defining the next generation of women's basketball branding. She was the moment. And instead of handing her the keys to the kingdom, they handed her a lukewarm, "We'll circle back" email while lighting up someone else's name in neon. Like, be for real. They really sat in some glossy conference room, watched the numbers Caitlyn was pulling, TV viewership in the millions, jersey sales flying off shelves, sold out arenas in markets that barely cared a year ago, and said, yeah, let's wait on that. That's not just a miss. That's a scandal in slow motion. Because what's the excuse here, really? She's too successful too fast? She didn't come through the right agency? Her game doesn't match the brand vision. She's not flashy enough, not loud enough. Newsflash, she doesn't need to be. The audience is loud enough for her. Caitlyn's fans are everywhere. Midwestern moms who now own WNBA season tickets. Little girls who started watching basketball because they saw someone who looked like them dominating. College hoops diehards. Even NBA fans who couldn't name a single WNBA team before she got drafted. And the wild part? She didn't try to become a brand. She just showed up, played her game, stayed grounded, and the world did the branding for her. Nike had the easiest layup of all time. Just match her energy. Just meet her halfway. She already built the audience, the hype, the moment. All they had to do was say, "We see you," and they didn't. So now the ball's in someone else's court. And whoever catches it, they're about to redefine the blueprint. Because the next brand to sign Caitlin Clark isn't just getting an athlete. They're getting a cultural reset. We're talking major campaigns, signature shoes, lifestyle lines, a rollout that mirrors what the big boys get. Not a side project, not a look at us investing in women charity moment. A full-scale, legacy-level investment. And let's just say it, Nike could have had that. But instead, they backed Juju Watkins, who, again, is incredibly talented, but is also still unproven at the professional level. Why? Well, let's talk about the real elephant in the boardroom, agency power plays. Because Clutch Sports? They don't wait. They don't ask nicely. They move like a machine. Their whole game is about forcing the spotlight. And to be fair, they're good at it. They've got the pipeline. They've got the pull. But that doesn't always mean they have the right timing. This wasn't a merit decision. It was a politics decision, a branding gamble, a bet that if they push Juju hard enough, she'll become the star they need her to be, even if the public hasn't bought in yet. But Caitlin Clark? The public already bought in. Hell, they're overdraft. They're obsessed. There's something almost poetic about this whole thing, because in trying to manufacture a moment, Nike completely ignored the organic one happening right in front of them. And now, Caitlin is a free agent in every sense of the word. She can go wherever she wants, partner with whoever gets it, build something on her terms. And honestly, that's kind of terrifying for the industry. Because what happens when the athlete has more leverage than the brand? You get a power shift that can't be undone. You get players realizing they don't need to wait their turn. You get athletes asking for equity, not just contracts. You get women in sports calling the shots instead of waiting for a nod from the suits. And that scares people. That rattles the system. Because the system wasn't built for women like Caitlin Clark. The system was built to contain them, to filter them through the right image, the right partnerships, the right agency, to control their tone, their press, their public reactions, to slow burn them through the pipeline until it was safe to fully believe in them. But Caitlin didn't follow that pipeline. She didn't play that game. She just kept showing up, dropping 30, selling out arenas, and being impossible to ignore. So Nike tried to quiet her by not amplifying her. They didn't drop her, they just let her sit on the bench. And now she's walking out of the arena with all the fans following her. It's one thing to lose an athlete. It's another thing to lose the athlete, the one who's already reshaping the game. In the WNBA, they're either going to step up and protect this momentum, or stand by and let their golden era fizzle under the weight of corporate indecision. Because Caitlin Clark's exit from Nike is a warning shot. It says, do not mistake politeness for powerlessness. It says, if you won't build the house, I'll go build the neighborhood. And let's be real, every other star in the league is watching this closely. If Caitlin can walk away and still rise, what's stopping others from demanding more too? We might be watching the start of a new era in women's sports endorsements. One where players don't just sign whatever deal they're offered. One where brands have to prove they deserve the partnership. One where being marketable means being unapologetically yourself, not molding into some sponsor-approved avatar. That's what Caitlin just did. She broke free of the mold, and now she gets to build something entirely new. Let's call this what it is, the moment everything changed. Because after this, Nike doesn't get to dictate what female athletic excellence looks like. The WNBA doesn't get to pretend it's all fair and equal behind the scenes. And fans? They don't get gaslit anymore. We all saw it. We all felt it. And now we're watching. very closely. She didn't just decline a deal. She didn't just walk away from check. She turned her back on the biggest athletic brand on the planet because they didn't value her enough. Not because they didn't offer, because they didn't see her. Not as she is. Not as the once-in-a-generation phenomenon she's already proven herself to be. And that is power. That is knowing your worth when the room pretends to forget. How many athletes, how many women specifically, get told to just be patient, to wait their turn, or worse, to be grateful? How many are told their time will come, while someone else skips the line with shinier connections and a better PR package? Caitlin Clark just said no to all of that, and she did it without a meltdown. No cryptic tweets, no public tantrums, just a decisive move that made everyone else sit up straight and rethink their playbooks. And don't forget the timing. This isn't just a business story. It's a cultural moment. Women's basketball is on a rise. Finally, the WNBA is being talked about like never before. The energy is electric. And instead of playing along with the old rules, Caitlin is setting new ones. Right in front of us. She's not asking to be included. She's not trying to fit the mold. She's burning the mold down and building something from scratch. And whoever gets her next, whatever brand has the guts to go all in, isn't just going to sell shoes. They're going to help shape a new era. An era where female athletes aren't waiting for validation. Where talent doesn't get benched behind politics. Where the culture shifts because one woman decided she was enough. That's what this is. A declaration. A disruption. A warning shot. And if Nike thought this would be a quiet little fallout they could smooth over later, they severely misread the moment. Caitlin Clark isn't just having a moment. She is the moment. So yeah, let that sink in. The most influential player in women's basketball just turned down the most iconic brand in sports because she's betting on herself. And we are so here for it. So now it's your move, Nike. Your move, WNBA. Your move, every other brand sleeping on women's sports. Caitlin's out here making history, and we're all watching. Now drop your thoughts in the comments. Who's picking up Caitlin next? Did Nike just lose the face of a generation? And are we finally about to see the power flip for good? You already know. Subscribe if you're here for the real talk, the real drama, and the receipts behind every so-called deal of the decade. Because this saga, we're just getting started.